In this video, we're going to be going over kind of a handful of things, but the end goal is to model this baseball bat. We're not going to color it or anything. It's just going to be the model, so it'll be a gray version of this bat. So let's get started. The way that we're going to model this, we're just going to use all the modeling tools that we've used so far. We're actually only going to use a very select few of them for this, because again, this is a really simple model. We're going to start with a cylinder, kind of start at the top and work our way down. So ideally, if there's a way we could get this image inside a Moto and model from it, that's going to be a lot easier. Modeling from images is a very common practice you'll see all over the industry. So how Moto handles this is right here we just have a basic empty scene. I can take my image and drag and drop it, and I just want to drop it in the background somewhere. I want to make sure I'm not dropping it on geometry, so just empty space. And as soon as I do that, you'll see a baseball bat entered the scene. So there's no magic button that I can click that'll just turn this into a 3D model of a baseball bat. We kind of manually have to do it. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is, instead of making this bat sideways, I'm going to make the image up and down. So this image that actually came into Moto, it isn't a 3D object per se. It's called a backdrop item. So backdrop item, you can just think of this as a floating image in space, but it's not a polygon. I can't grab this edge and extrude it or anything. It's just an image. And the other thing that you'll notice is you can't see all of this area, and that's just because it's an empty PNG, so these are just empty pixels in a sense, or clear pixels. So again, it's just a kind of unique image. But regardless, I'm going to go up here and go to Part. Again, in the past I've told you to stay away from Part, but in this sense we're going to actually kind of use it. Or I can click on the item right here. Then I can hit E to rotate, or again, going to this basic tab and hitting rotate. And I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. So if you have trouble rotating this, you can just come over here and manually put in 90. Call that good. Now the other thing is, I'm unsure how big this image actually is. So just to get kind of a feel for the scene size, I'm just going to hold Control, tap on a cube, and this is a 1 meter by 1 meter cube. So normal baseball bat isn't normally 20 foot tall, 30 foot tall. So I can actually grab this backdrop image, move to the scale tool. Oops, I actually want to grab that in item mode. So again, I can go to Part and then click on it. So again, I get this yellow outline. And once I have this yellow outline on the backdrop image, I can switch to scale and bring this bat image down to make it about the size that I want it. So the other thing is, I'm at 14%. As I scale this down, it's getting harder and harder to kind of tweak it. So now there's kind of a big difference between 9 and 11. So if I just drop the tool, hit escape, and then use the scale tool again, it resets to 100, and now I can more finely adjust this. So if a meter is about 3 feet, a baseball bat, we'll say it's about yay big. We're just eyeballing this. It doesn't have to be exact by any means. So at this point, this cube kind of served its purpose, so let's go ahead and delete it out. And then let's start actually modeling the bat. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop in a primitive shape that's as close as I can get to the bat. I'm going to say that a cylinder would be our best bet. So the other thing I'm going to do is, I'm not just going to leave the default cylinder, and there's a lot of points here, and I don't want to have to worry about messing with, let's just check, 336 points and manually move these one at a time. That's just a huge waste of time. So what we're going to do is throw in a cylinder. So select the cylinder, hover over the 3D viewport and right click. And now we're going to start messing with the sides and segments. So the sides is currently set to 24. Let's knock that down to 12 segments. Just for the sake, let's just knock it down to 1, and let's see how round this is. So that might be a little bit too round. We're going to knock it down to 10. Again, we're just going to keep this really simple. So from here, what we're going to do is I can take this shape, and again, the shape is dead center of the screen, or dead center of the scene, not screen. And I can scale this in, and then I can see, okay, my bat is fairly good. So the other thing that you're going to want to take advantage of when you're modeling from scratch is your orthographic views. We haven't really covered those that much yet. So right here I can click on perspective, and then I have top, bottom, back, front, right, etc. So I'm just going to go to the front view and I'm going to look at this bat, zoom in on it. So if I look, I know my bat's centered because I dropped a primitive that was sitting at world center. So this is kind of telling me the bat image is off a little bit. So I'm just going to go to this part mode, click on my bat, hit W to move. And now I'm just going to slide this over just the tiniest of bits. And realistically, if I would have had a perfectly centered image, this wouldn't have been a problem because technically my backdrop image was at world center. So from here I can go back, select my mesh, and now I can start worrying about modeling this shape out and having it match the other shape. So kind of what's going to happen, let's turn my backdrop image off. I'm just going to hit this little eyeball here. That's going to make that not visible anymore. So what I'm going to do effectively is do the extrude tool. So again, I just hit the hotkey for extrude, pull that up, scale it down, extrude again, pull that up, scale it down. But right now I just kind of eyeballed that and guessed what the bat would look like. Let's see if we can't find a little bit more accurate way of doing that. So with that, what we're going to do is I'm going to go to this front view. So again, I can either click up here from perspective and hit front, or a faster way of doing this is, again, more hotkeys. If you hold Control and Spacebar, you get access to all those views. So top, perspective, right, left, bottom, again, top of the top, front, back, camera. We're not going to worry about camera right now. So I just want to go to front view. So from here, what I can do is switch to polygon mode, and I can't grab this top polygon. I can't click on it. I can try, but it's giving me this edge, and then I'll get this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to middle mouse click lasso select, and that's going to grab that top polygon. And again, I can switch camera angles to make sure, yes, that's the polygon that I have. But realistically, I can see when it's unselected, I don't get that little yellow line. When it's selected, I get the little yellow-orange line. Again, our image isn't lined up perfectly, but we're going to kind of just work off of it. So I'm going to switch to the Move tool. Again, probably from here on out, I'm going to use W, E, and R to move, scale, and rotate. Again, huge waste of time to comb through these menus, find, move, scale, and rotate. Because again, you move, scale, rotate things constantly in 3D. So those are just hotkeys that I'd get used to as soon as possible if I were you. So W to move, click and move this up. And then we can see that there's kind of an angle here and then an angle here. So there's kind of a row of polygons here and a row of polygons here. So middle mouse select, I have this guy selected. I can go to mesh edit, hit extrude, right click, grab the arrow and pull it up, R to scale, move that in, space bar, and I'm done with that section. Now again, I deselected it so I can select it again, extrude, right click, pull it up, R to scale, scale it in until it kind of matches up with that image. Other thing that we can do if we want is this is set to default. I could set it to wireframe and then I can kind of see through my mesh. That's kind of a cool thing that some people like to take advantage of. The only thing I'll say be cautious of is in this view method, wireframe, for whatever reason, when I lasso select, my middle mouse click and my left mouse, or my middle mouse click and my right mouse click are reversed. So normally I middle mouse click to select all the way through. This only gives me 8 polygons, but if I right mouse click in wireframe, it'll give me all of those polygons. So a little bit weird thing to get used to, but we'll just set that back to default. So from here, I really can't see my shape again. So I can go back into wireframe mode, select that one polygon on the bottom, and now I could potentially scale this down and have it about match the width. Let's actually hit spacebar to drop that. I'm just going to go into part mode, grab this image and just recenter it. Just do a little bit better of a job centering it at the top. So it looks like it actually might just be rotated a little bit, but that's fine. We can eyeball it. So again, I have the general idea of the shape of this bat. Again, it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. So again, wireframe mode, I want to, if I middle mouse click, it's not going to grab all of them, so I want to right mouse click, And now I can just really line this up right to where I see this plane change right here. So about right there. You can scale it in. And realistically, I know that it's kind of off center, so I'm not going to actually move it left or right to line it up perfect, because technically that's going to move the base of my bat over, and I don't want to have a diagonal bat. I want it to be perfectly up and down. So again, that's just the image might have a little bit of perspective in it. The image might be rotated a little bit. So again, it's not 100% perfect, but we'll call it good. So from here, right now, let's actually go back into default mode. I just have one really long polygon for this entire bat. So what I'm going to do is take advantage of the loop slice. So let's select two edges, loop slice, left click. It only does one, so I want to do slice selected, turn that off. Now I can slide this guy up or down. The other thing I could do is take my count and move my count. So let's take that count to about 3. So I'll have my first edge be about right here. My second edge be about right here. And my third edge, we can move this up or down, but I'm going to put it right here. Now I'm going to hit spacebar to drop that loop slice tool. So now I'm not in wireframe anymore, so I can middle mouse click to grab this entire loop. Or if I switch to edge mode, I can just double click an edge and it'll select all the way around. And then I guess your third way, if you're paranoid about this, go to your perspective mode and just look at it and say, yep, I have all the edges going all the way around. So again, go back into my front view. If I don't like hotkeys, if you like hotkeys, you can control spacebar, go to the front view. So from here, I can kind of line this up with the image, scale it up, zoom out, scale in. So I have my scale tool active. I just want to hit spacebar to drop that. Middle mouse button. Move this about right here so I can see a little bit of the bat. Spacebar to drop the scale tool. And just tweak this and get it right where I want it. So again, we're heavily relying on the image to do all the work for us. Let's go down here, switch to polygon mode. Grab this bottom polygon, hit extrude, so left click, hover over the 3D viewport, right click, slide this down, R to scale, scale it up. Now it looks like there's 1, 2, 3 more edges. So polygon mode, middle mouse click, extrude this down, scale it out, spacebar, extrude, right click, down, spacebar, extrude, right click. Oop, I just accidentally moved it over a little bit, so I'm just going to hit the undo key, make sure I get that green arrow, pull it down, scale, and move it in. So at this point, go back to my perspective view, hit A just to zoom back in on this bat, so I can turn off my backdrop image, and now I have a pretty good bat. Only thing, this is kind of a best practices thing. We usually want to stay away from n-gons, so I'll actually do one more extrude, pull it up a tiny bit, and then I'm just going to go to my vertex tab and hit join average. That's going to bring these all together. And again, since I pulled it up a little bit, you'll see that it makes it just a little bit round on the top, that one vertex. If we go to the front view, it just gives it a little bit more bubble. And we'll do that same thing on the bottom. So again, grab this guy. So another hotkey that I did real quick that just helps out. If I hit A, it will zoom in to the entire object, and I'll probably mention this multiple times. But if I click on a single object or a handful of smaller objects, and instead of hitting A, I hold Shift and hit A, what it's going to do is zoom right in on those selected objects. Really handy. So we'll just extrude this, pull it down a little bit, and then hit join average again. So now we have the bottom part of our bat is just a little bit more rounded. And we effectively have a completed bat. We could throw this right in a video game. It's really not high poly enough for a movie, but realistically, the model's ready to go. So again, from here, the last step that I'd want to do, just kind of best practices, let's take our mesh, name it baseball bat, This backdrop image, I probably don't need this anymore, so I'll just right click this and hit delete. Now I want to save my image. So File, Save As. And again, if you're saving it to give to me, you'll want to do a File, Save As FBX. And again, you'll have a lesser amount of file options to choose from. But if you're just saving it for yourself to work on later, you want to save it as a Moto scene. So I'll just do File, Save As FBX. Name it baseball bat. Hit save. It'll just get thrown on my desktop. Hit save one more time. And now from here it changes from untitled to what I named it, baseball bat. And the model is ready to go. So a quick summary of what we learned. We learned how to throw in backdrop images. So again, just from your Finder window or your Explorer, take an image, drag and drop it right into the background of the scene. Again, not on a mesh. And then we also learned about orthographic views. So again, front view, top view, etc. And then going back to perspective. We learned how to change it from a default view to a wireframe. Again, you can click on these and kind of figure out if you like some. There's a cell shaded one. There's this gooch tone one. This one's kind of cool. There's a reflective one that's kind of shiny. There's some cool stuff in there, but I usually just toggle back and forth between wireframe and default. And then realistically, we just learned how to model from an image. So again, fairly simple video, but again, really powerful skill that you can apply to a lot of different models.